Aquarius, I'm Ellie Rose with PsychicFuture.com and this is your horoscope from the 24th to the 30th of September. So, we are now moving into Libra season. So hopefully you celebrated the autumn equinox last weekend and managed to do some nice harvesty things with friends and family. If you didn't, don't worry, there's still a lot of that kind of energy in the air. So if you need some ideas for things to do for your little celebration, check out my blog post on the Psychic Future website and there's some ideas in there. So, Libra season. We are now crossing over into the darker half of the year. So this is a lot about what the equinox is actually about. So if you watched my video last week, I explained this already, but just to recap, the equinox is when the days and the nights are of exactly equal length. So it's this representation of the scales of Libra. And Libra season sits exactly between Virgo season and Scorpio season, and it is almost like the tipping point of light into dark, because we've had summer, we've had all the kind of lovely outdoorsy kind of nice weather and meeting people and hanging out outside, and then we're moving into the darker half of the year and, you know, Scorpio season and all about this kind of going within kind of energy, because there's not a lot of light outside, so we're stuck inside, so there's a lot of kind of meditative energy going on, there's lots of inner kind of transformations and things. So the equinox is the tipping point, it's also the scales of Libra. So a lot of the time Libra is kind of, it's misinterpreted a little bit on a kind of superficial level, and we tend to miss like the real deep meaning of it, because what we look at is, you know, Libra is ruled by Venus, so that means that Librans are very charming and, you know, they're very good at relationships and they're very aesthetically pleasing and they like nice things and they have nice homes and, you know, they're very good at schmoozing at parties and being the hostess with the mostess, all of this kind of stuff. That actually is a little bit superficial, and if you think about these scales, it is this idea of harmony and balance. It's all of this stuff is very external and we're missing out on the internal. So, you know, we've got one half of the scales being kind of like tipped. So what is like the tipping point back in this kind of Libran energy? And I think that it's a lot to do with this kind of metaphysical idea of the world around us reflecting our inner and vice versa. So we're getting quite deep here, so bear with me. So let's think about it in terms of relationships. When we find like a romantic partner that we're interested in, a lot of the time we'll go for somebody who has a complete opposite kind of personality to us, because of opposites attract. And we never really question that. We always just think, oh yeah, opposites attract. But we don't really think why opposites attract. And a lot of the time it's because actually those are the qualities that we are seeking, that we have in a side of ourselves that we're not allowing ourselves to embody. So for example, if we like to go for people that are very like, you know, soft and kind and sensitive kind of people, is that because actually, you know, it's not that we're, you know, a little bit more intellectual and perhaps, you know, we just don't have those qualities in us. It's actually because we do have those qualities in ourselves, but we keep telling ourselves that we don't, so then we kind of repress them and then we look for them outside of ourselves, and we forget that actually we have everything inside of ourselves and we just have to kind of work at it. So this works on a negative way as well, like, you know, whenever you meet somebody and you think, oh, I just find them so annoying because, you know, they only think about themselves. You know, or maybe they're, you know, you think, oh, they're selfish, or, you know, this really gets you back up. A lot of the time that is because we actually would quite like to have a little bit of that in our lives. You know, not necessarily like full-blown kind of like selfishness, but like perhaps a lot of the time we think about people above ourselves and we put other people's needs before our own, and actually what we would like to do sometimes is put ourselves first, but we just don't allow ourselves to, because we think, oh well, you know, people won't like us, or they'll think that I'm selfish, when actually there's an imbalance going on. And that's why we are negatively kind of judging that person, because actually we would quite like some of that inside ourselves. So there is a name for this, it's called projection, and that was a term that was come up by Carl Jung, who was a really famous psychotherapist, you've probably heard of him. And yeah, it is basically all about us trying to become whole, but seeking it outside of ourselves. Whereas actually the name of the game is about trying to bring it in ourselves to try and become whole. So let's get a little bit more practical now. How can we do this? Libra season is a really good time to think about this kind of energy and this kind of theme, because what it is encouraging us to do is to notice the things in our external world and to then kind of reflect them within ourselves. So this week, try and ask yourself a few questions and think about the people in your life and what things you really love about them, like what qualities, you know, you think, wow, I really love that about so-and-so. And, you know, like if someone in your life has got amazing boundaries and they really take care of themselves and they put themselves first, but equally balanced with putting other people's needs first. Like if you have someone in your life like that and you look at them and you think, wow, that's really great and I wish I was like that, try and see if you do actually have a little bit of that inside of yourself, or try and think about what it would take to embody that a little bit more and to be that kind of person. If it helps you to kind of like almost pretend that you're walking in that person's shoes and be like, oh, I'm thinking like so-and-so so that I can try and embody this energy more, then do that. And also try and think about it from the negative perspective as well, like what things really annoy me in other people, and how can I allow myself to have a little bit more of that in order to become whole and to accept myself. Because essentially what we're doing is we're telling ourselves that we're not allowed to be certain things, instead of just embracing every part of ourselves and just accepting that we are kind of complicated creatures and we do have lots of different qualities within us and that we can be lots of different things. So try that out for size this week, and hopefully it will be a fruitful exercise. So I've got some lovely little tarot cards here. These are my new mini Rider-Waite that I bought myself for my birthday. So let's have a card. I won't have that one because I didn't even shuffle yet. Right, what have we got for Aquarius? It's that one. The King of Pentacles. Okay, this is the second time he's been out this week. So the King of Pentacles is in charge of his kingdom. So this is like your home, your work, your you know, the area around you, like everything that you can see as far as the eye can see is your domain. So try and step into your power a little bit this week and realise how much you have in your life. Try and get a little bit more organised. Try and feel a little bit like you are in control of your surroundings a little bit better. You know, perhaps you need to like schedule a little bit more. Perhaps you need to accept or feel grateful for like the material things that you have in your life. And just really kind of embody the energy of a king who, you know, would look around him and think, yeah, I did this, you know, this is great. I manifested all of this and I'm in charge of all of this. But try and like walk tall and, you know, have this like presence of a king, essentially. And yeah, things will come to you because, I mean, kings, they're doing all right, aren't they? He's got this big old coin. I don't know if you can see that. It's very small. But yeah, the king is doing all right, but he has to act like a king. So for this week, make sure that you act like a king and accept that your kingdom is all around you and it is what you make of it. So I hope to see you next week and much love.